as part of Global Choice's 25th anniversary, they are marking 2026 with the theme Gratitude, celebrating unsung heroes in our communities. In partnership with Global Choices, FAnews is shining a light on individuals whose quiet, selfless work makes a real difference, often without recognition. One such individual is a very well-known person to everyone in the industry, and that is Blake Dyason, founder of Love Our Trails. Through his hands-on work in South Africa's mountain trail works, Blake plays a critical role in protecting these spaces, improving safety, and fostering a shared sense of responsibility among trail users, ensuring our mountains remains accessible and, very importantly, respected for generations to come. Welcome, Blake. It is so cool to chat to you.
Hello. Bye, Donkey. Thank you. And thanks to Vimpy and the Global Choices team for this cool initiative.
Yes, I love working on the initiatives. It's always such an exciting interview for me. So, Blake, let's start. Love Our Trails is deeply rooted in the mountains. What originally motivated you to start this initiative, and what problem did you see on trails that needed urgent attention?
So I think it's human of us to help each other. And I think we've forgotten how to be human. Like we so focused on like, if I contact this person, what's in it for me? If I do this, what's in it for me? And we've forgotten about being human. And being human is to serve and to uplift and to support and to love. And in 2010, I was invited to do a trail run to raise money for a lady fighting breast cancer. And sadly, she passed away. But before she passed away, she told me our single greatest gift in life is our health, vitality, and mobility. And so that was the first pivoting point that like led me to like making this commitment that if I saw something that bothered me or irritated me, is I wouldn't complain. Like I'm so blessed with my health, vitality, and mobility. And I became so aware of the privilege I have of networks and friends and support structures that I will do what I can to contribute rather than complain. And so that started, and then that led me to like an orphanage and a whole bunch of other NPOs that I work on. But the one that really grabbed my heart and happened organically was Love Our Trails. And originally, I was taking a friend from Joburg on the most beautiful hike on Table Mountain, and I was showing off, and I'm like, look how perfect it is. This is our backyard. We're so lucky. Brag, brag, brag. And then we came down Platter Clip and the most popular trail, and there was litter and graffiti and people playing music, and the energy changed. And I remember being like embarrassed. And I got home and I started emailing and messaging people saying, who does cleanups? Who looks after this place? What are the rules? And like I'd realized I got into adventure racing and mountain biking and trail running without ever learning the ethos or the values of outdoor activity. And so I got almost no response, and I just created a Facebook page in 2014, I think, or Facebook event. And I said, hey, trail community, join us for a cleanup. And we had just over 100 people join for the first cleanup. It's a 4-kilometer trail, and we picked up 55 black bags of litter. And
What?
that reaction is what I got everywhere. Like people were shocked. No one could believe what happened. And so this guy came and actually made a little video of it. Like he hiked with us and he made like a little video. And so I didn't know how to communicate this. I'd realized like we have a problem. Like I thought we were just doing cleanup. Then I'm like, there's a real problem. Like we have a behavioral problem. We have a misunderstanding of the value of this place. Like we encouraging people to be out, but there's no support structure. Like it always felt weird. And so I was like, what are we doing? So then I thought, well, how do I get this out? And at that stage, I had like a Facebook page with like 500 people that follow me. So I'm like, that's not going to help anything. And most of them are insurance people that live in Joburg. So that's also not going to help much. And so then I was like, I just got in my car and I drove to all the outdoor brands. And I eventually ended up at Cape Union Mart's head office. And I showed them this video and I said, if you put your logo on this, will you share it? And they had like 40,000 followers or whatever. And so they said yes, and they put it on, and it just started going viral. And I ended up on radio. And then next minute, I was contacted by Gallo from World Trails Network and joined this global World Trails thing. and then ended up with this brand called Love Our Trails, and now we done hundreds of cleanups. But it all just started from like this random cleanup to do it. And now the problem is I've gone down the rabbit hole of like, there's like this deep thing of like trails have so much value, and there's a sustainability model to it, and a economical value to it, and tourism value. And so now I'm there.
Wow. But maybe I'm not sure if the question is relevant here, but how do you make money in the meantime, Blake? Because surely this keeps you fairly busy.
Yes. So I have like a personal commitment to how I serve this world. And so in 2010 or 2011, when I got that message that my vitality, health, and that's so important, I'd committed that 50% of my life is dedicated to giving back, and 50% is to making money and that. And so, yes, I work with CN&Co, and we do a whole bunch of great marketing for financial and outside financial services, and we manage events, and we do all these fun things, and that pays the bills. But like, I've chosen to live more humbly, and then rather spend another 50% of my time running the mountain rescue organization and running the orphanage and doing that. But saying that, I say running it and doing it, like I also empower other people to do a lot of that work. I know where my little skills are, and I contribute that part to it. And so I don't run all of it. I build communities that run a lot of it. But it's a commitment that I believe as a human we are here to serve, and I believe our happiness and well-being is here to serve. Like that's what feeds us. We can have all the money in the world, if we don't serve, we're not going to be fed.
You are most certainly one in a million, Blake, because I think if we can have more people with just half of that mindset, our world will be a different place. So, wow, it's really great to hear that. Many people enjoy mountain trails without thinking about what it takes to keep them safe and accessible. I mean, there's me. You just assume, you just think it should be. Or maybe you just think that people don't litter there, right? And that's why it was such a shock for me when you mentioned that number of black bags. I've done trails in my life when I was younger. A lot of trails, a lot. It was, and I've never realized that. I've never thought about that part. So what does a typical day or project look like for you and your team on these trails?
So I think if we go back to like 2014, 2015, when I started, like I'd host like monthly trail cleanups. This has gained traction where there's hiking groups and trail running groups doing cleanups all over and organize.
Okay.
So I do very few cleanups now. Like I host a few.
Okay.
I actually partner with other people wanting to do it. I support them in how to get permits and black bags to do it and how to manage safety around it. But I'm driving less of those.
Okay.
Which is super cool. And I've ended up finding myself in the space of like real trail sustainability. So understanding value of trails, working with like the Cape Natures or the sand parks or private landowners on like, how do we protect these spaces? What is considered sustainable? Like, have we got maintenance plans in place? What is trail standards? All of that kind of stuff. And then so Love Our Trails really evolved to the point now where I see, for me, trails are the footpaths that connect us to wild spaces, but they also connect us to communities and people, and they connect us to ourselves. And in history, we've seen these trails as just old cattle trails or old trails that have existed for hundreds of years, and they're just always going to be there. But they were designed previously to have 100 people walk on them a year, not 100 people a day. And they weren't dealing with the climate change or the flooding or the different challenges we're facing now. And so like looking at it and going, what is the real value of trails? Trails bring in tourism. They have a value for fire breaks, for rescue services, for access for conservationists, for alien clearing, for recreational use, for healthcare. Like they have all these
Keep
values.
us sane.
Exactly. And I think we forget about that value. And so like a road, a train line, all of these are also actual trails in a different form. And they all have a maintenance plan, they all have a funding project, but trails are forgotten. And so for me, if we had to remove trails out of our ecosystem, I think we'd be worse off. I think we'd see a decline in tourism, we'd see a decline in mental health, we'd see a decline in physical health, we'd lose communities because there's so many people that use trails to get to school, to get to work, it's a massive part of our history and who we are. And so for me, it's like, I've dived into this world of how do we understand the value of it and how do we preserve and protect that for the next generation, in a way that they can engage with nature, see the beautiful flowers and that, but also how do we turn trails not just in this singular experiential thing, but like how do we become like stewards and ambassadors for these trails, that we start protecting them, and there are many ways of doing it, but for Love Our Trails, we believe in like the best way to protect a space is to create an intrinsic value. And this can happen like either intrinsic value to like the Amazon jungle. And I've never been there, but I watched a documentary and I've read a book. And so now I understand like community there and understand value and what it does for carbon and all these different things. And so I value it. And so Love Our Trails has built itself around where we have tailored guided hikes, where we either take tourists or locals on guided hikes, but we do like school group projects, we do underprivileged hikes, we do expedition style hikes, and that we immerse people in nature and let them see nature through the eyes of someone who's a conservationist that loves that space. Then we also host conservation weekends where we bring all conservationists together and people that love wilderness spaces, and we do talks and engagements and volunteer activities, and then you get to really be embedded in this world that you're like, what, someone spent 20 years trying to save a little sandfish this big and there's only 1,000 of them left, and you just like, I can't make that water dirty now, like that's important. And so we like bring that to life. And then we do online education, we do campaigning, we go on radio and we talk about real serious things and that. And then we also built a trail rescue thing where we fall in wilderness search and rescue, and we have first responders. So they're trail runners trained for rescues. We try to get to the scene first or early, help with comms, help with the whole structure of that first part of the rescue, and often with the carry outs. And so Love Our Trails has got that. And the last part of Love Our Trails is like a consulting thing. So all of that is basically for free, except the guiding. Sometimes we get paid. And then the consulting side is where we work with landowners to help them up front on like, how do you build a trail? How do you maintain trails? What structures do you need around it? What's considered sustainable? And that we can get paid for. And it's been interesting, like it's only the last 2 years that people have been like, oh, this is actually valuable. But yeah, so that's kind of where we are now and what we do. And yeah, it's not all me. I have the vision and I plant the seed, and then the amazing people that are like, that's what we're doing, and they do it. And a great example of that is actually in like 3-4 weeks time, we in Cedarburg, after the big fires that burned 53,000 hectares, I put a post out to our community asking who wants to volunteer to help. I was hoping for 40 people. We're at 140. And we like, it's crazy. And I just got messages last night of people like, I can't come, but we're going to donate money to help pay for the food so you can feed these volunteers and pay for the petrol to drive and pick them up. And we're going to be able to rebuild. I chatted to the park manager. We're looking at rebuilding and working on over 20 trails, which now will help those trails open, bring tourism back to the area, prevent erosion. It's going to be like, it's invaluable what this can do just from volunteers. It's yeah, it's amazing.
That is amazing. I mean, I have so many questions, and we've sort of got a list of questions, but I might deviate completely from that. One of the things that you mentioned was the first responders. So someone is in the mountain, do they sort of get a number? How does that, there's an emergency, so how does that process work? And maybe you can share 1 or 2 examples of really hectic rescues that you had to do.
Cool. So yesterday we had a rescue that I spoke to on off the mountain. The day before we had 2 rescues where we fetched 2 people off the mountain. So it happens daily, all the time. I am currently injured, so I don't go in the mountain, but I manage our team and they went. But it's constant. So just to give you an idea.
So how do people know who to contact? Where does that start?
So there is a mountain rescue, wilderness search and rescue number that's at Metro, and that's like the disaster management of Western Cape that have that call center. But what generally happens is if it's a tourist, they'll phone the hotel they're at to say they're in trouble, or they will phone Sandparks or whichever number they have access to, and eventually it gets diverted to mountain rescue. So we get that goes to this call center. Then that call center puts a WhatsApp out to a management group of, I think, 13 specialist rescue teams. So that includes helicopters, rope access, dog units, canine units, technical teams, 4x4s and communication teams, trail runners for first responders. Like it's a big group of specialists. And then the incident commander will look at it and say,
for that?
it's all voluntary.
Sure.
Yeah. And then the incident commander, which will then look at it and say, okay, there's someone stuck on this place. It's on the edge of a cliff. We need ropes. We need a stretcher. We need, like, they'll start calculating what they need and then build a team out of these volunteers. And then we send people out. So like sometimes like on Monday night or whatever, there was a group of people that mistimed their hike and got caught in bad wind and couldn't get the cable car down, and they're stuck and had a bit of a leg injury. So we sent teams up, I think at 9 or 10 o'clock at night to go find them and then escort them off with headlamps and warm clothes and food. And they got down at like, I think 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, and went to bed, morning, got up, went to work like nothing happened. And that, so it's like a lot of it's like really simple stuff like that. And then like sadly we also deal with a lot of yeah, like people, there's like sometimes things from like, yeah, people falling off the mountain to suicides to like yeah, to just like really bad injuries. Recently we've had a series of like paragliders and that have crashed on the mountain, which have led to a couple of deaths and some serious injuries. And so those things are like really traumatic and really difficult. But we have teams that are trained and experienced in it, and we also provide like counseling for our teams and management for our teams around that. But yeah, that's I think we're like close to like 400 rescues a year on Table Mountain and the surrounding areas. That's like, it's crazy. Yeah.
So you operate mainly in that area. Is there similar scenarios available in the rest of the country? Like I know in the Mpumalanga area, I mean, there's a lot of amazing trails there that we've done. Is the same story happening there?
A little bit of it. Like I'd say Western Cape, Cape Town, I think we're like close on like probably 600 volunteers in the whole thing. It's massive, and like super skilled, trained volunteers. I know in Mpumalanga, Drakensberg, there are communities of them, mostly through the Mountain Club of South Africa, and they're great and skilled. Their teams are just a lot smaller. So we'll see what often happens in those is if there's like someone stuck in a gorge that needs rescue, and the mountain rescue team will lead it, but they'll call on fire rescue or whatever to come and help with carrying stuff or carrying the stretcher. Yeah, so they require a lot more collaboration with outside of the rescue teams to help do some of the rescues. But no, it's around the country. South Africans care. Like, I think I 100% believe more people in this country do good than bad. We just never celebrate or talk about the good.
Yeah.
And us as citizens, when we see good things, we look at them, we just go past it on social. We don't go to the bar and talk about it. We go to the bar and we talk about the bad weather, we talk about the crime, we talk about, but like if we change that narrative and celebrated the man who stood up against gender-based violence, or celebrated the person who went and helped someone or fed someone, like we'd incentivize more people to do this, but we've forgotten to be human. Like we like, oh my word, did you see the homeless person? But we forgot to say, did you see the person who helped the homeless person?
Yeah.
Like we've forgotten that human element.
You mentioned security at some point.
Yeah.
Once again, my hikes was like many, many years ago. And we had one incident where we felt a little bit unsafe. How regular do you still see and hear about that? And what are you guys doing to ensure that people feel safe and that they know there's not a safety issue when they go on a walk?
Yeah, so for me, safety is like a holistic thing. And we often think of safety around crime, which for me is maybe the third thing to consider. The first thing is like planned. Do you know where you're going? Do people know where you're going? Have you checked the weather? Have you got water? Have you got gear? Like that. I'd say most accidents, most problems start because that hasn't been done. And if you look at it, I think we have like on Table Mountain, we have whatever, and I'm not brushing it off, it's crazy, but we have like 30 crime incidents in total or whatever, over whatever the whole mountain, 700 and something kilometers of trail. But we have 400 rescues of people lost, injured, fallen. And so that is statistically a much bigger concern. And then the next thing is around like safety, like as in crime safety. So be aware where it's safe, not safe. From Love Our Trails, I've been super involved with many elements of it for years. The last 2 years, I actually worked with Sandparks. I developed a program called VSS in partnership with a couple of other organizations, which was a volunteer visitor safety services thing. And we had put in this amazing program. I think I try to work out how many hours, but put in hundreds of hours. I'd invested my own money into like projects for it. And unfortunately, certain individuals in Sandparks prevented this from actually happening, even though we'd signed contracts in that. And so that led us to the end of, or mid to end of last year, actually campaigning against Sandparks. There were lots of letters, including legal letters, lots of fighting going on to get accountability, to the point that the CEO of Sandparks flew down, has met with us numerous times, has promised to do a turnaround strategy, which they're busy working on, but has also moved some of the staff around, employed a new head of visitor safety as of January. And when I'm doing rescues at 12 o'clock at night, he's on the phone with me. It's the first time we've seen someone active. So I think there's maybe change happening. But unfortunately, with these big institutions, there's potentially like bad apples are either corrupt or lazy or in positions that they're not capable of, and they figured out how to work these roles to earn salaries, to get what they want out of it, and use whatever the procurement systems or whatever the systems are to be able to avoid delivering on anything or create excuses. And I saw this firsthand. And so it's a long, hard process. And sometimes you have to walk this line of like being their friend and working with them, and then like turning on them and being like, no, it's all about accountability. And for me, that was the hardest part, is because I'm like this optimist and I work. And last year, for about 6 months, I committed to just being nasty. Like I was like, you haven't done your job. Here's an email, accountable. 2 weeks later, it's still not done. Who's responsible? Oh, you haven't made someone responsible. The CEO is responsible. If you're not responsible, it goes to the media. And it was just like relentless pressure. But I think it paid off. And now we're back on speaking terms and we're working together, and there's change happening. And so I think it's this fine line of like when people do good, we have to celebrate it, but there needs to be accountability. And so Love Our Trails plays in that space where we have access to the networks, we understand the environment, we have access to specialists, and we will gladly go sit with these landowners like Sandparks and give them advice. We'll give them feedback from our community. We'll build WhatsApp groups for volunteers, but we also are there to hold accountability and fight the fight for the better interest of trail users.
That is amazing. So what would you like more people to understand about caring for our mountain trails? So how can everyday trail users support the work you do? And if someone is listening to this, how do they get involved?
So I think it's less about trails specifically and more about being human, is that wherever you spend time, whatever you have an interest in, is like none of it's free. Like all of us have a privilege, no matter our upbringing, at some point, and we have, as a human, a responsibility to serve. And so like whatever that looks like, if you're privileged enough to have some extra cash, consider supporting someone as an individual or organization. But if you are whatever, like you live on the outskirts of the mountain and there's crime happening, like reach out to one of the organizations and say, you can put a camera up on my property to monitor it. Like build collaboration. And not everything has to be huge and big. It's like, how do we use what we have, our access to whatever privileges we have, to serve, to give back, to be part of something, without expecting anything in return. Like this idea of like, I'll let you put a camera up here and you can use it. It doesn't have to serve me. You don't have to pay rent for it. Like, because I'm serving my community, I'm building something better. And that's like a really simple example. But like, if you're walking on the trail, just pick up litter. If you're walking on the trail, don't play loud music, be conscious of other users. Like I think we just need to be human and like support whatever it is. And if you're a mountain biker, the same thing works there. If you're a road cyclist, the same thing works there. You cycle past someone with a flat tire, just stop and offer to help. But we've forgotten because we got a Strava link that we need to get, and we are worried that people are going to judge us for cycling slow today, or I don't know. I think we've forgotten to be human. Human is to love and care and nurture and uplift.
Wow. My son is saying what you said now made me think of that. It's not that deep. Just do it. Just stop and help. And it's something we also see the same with the trails is on the beaches. So often when I go for a walk, take a bag with. There's so much rubbish on the beach. Just pick up the stuff on the beach. It's not that deep. Just do your thing.
And I think like with this interview and our audience being very insurance based, like I think we often think like sports or trails or things are like outside of us, but like insurance is a foundation to everything. Every product that's developed has a link to insurance. Like insurance is the backbone to like all these disasters, and trails are affected by floods, climate change, tourism, like everything. And so when these things are neglected, we'll feel the impact across the board, which essentially is going to affect tourism. And I might butcher this a little bit because I read this years ago, but when the Twin Towers were flown into and that attack happened on 9/11, what was so crazy is the trails in New York are designed for rescue services. So when the buildings collapsed and cars were damaged and roads were closed and people were running, the rescue services could still use the trails, and they were able to respond in it. And so those trails are funded by private sector. And so like this is the thing, it's like, where's medical aid in this on our trails? Like it provides like healthcare for our mental health, our well-being. Like where's insurance? If insurance got involved, could we start looking at maintenance plans to build trails in a way that help prevent workers' fire breaks, help us fighting systems? It's one of the biggest claims happening at the moment. Like there are alternative ways of saying, I'm going to invest in my community in a positive way, great marketing tool, great asset, but also I'm preventing claims, I'm providing services for safety. And I think we've forgotten that like that it's about service, it's about giving back, but like in return will always serve us. We just need to collaborate and be open to these things. And I think insurance is vital to this world.
Yeah, industry, if you don't respond on this, you will never respond on anything. Blake, wow. I'm in awe. I'm going to change a few things on my side. You've just made me realize once again how thankful we can be for so many things, and what our responsibility is to just give back and show our appreciation for what we have in life. So thank you for an amazing chat, and thank you for sharing your story. And I have no doubt that there will be a few people who will be able to reach, who's going to reach out to you. Blake is on LinkedIn and everywhere else. If anyone needs his number, more than welcome to share it. But thank you for the work that you so selflessly and relentlessly do. And thank you for your passion, and thank you for reminding us for just being human.
Bye, Danke. Thank you. Love you guys.
Thanks, bye.